Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Diego here, and welcome to my house. I know this is a totally different spot from where I do all my videos, but as you can kind of guess by the title of the video today, I'm actually not going to be at the game tonight. Um, I for the Flyers taking on the Ottawa Senators. This video is pre-recorded, so I do not know the outcome of the game. So I just realized this watching this back. I didn't actually give a prediction for the game, so my final prediction is going to be the Flyers are going to beat the Ottawa Senators. This time, I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game with a final score of 4-3. So we're going to check back in after the game in the next video, and we're going to see how correct this prediction was. But I know that it should be a really exciting matchup and another important one because yesterday or on Tuesday, we came off of a good victory against the Washington Capitals with a final score of 4-2. But getting a victory over the Senators will definitely help us for our playoff hunt. But yeah, so this is kind of just a little bit of a heads up that I won't be at the game. I think I've said at the beginning of the year that I usually try and get to all of them, and that this year I was expecting to get all of them. But unfortunately, there was something that came up and an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So because of that, I will be unable to be at the game tonight, or at the time of the video. I won't be at the game basically. Um, but yeah, so kind of just to fill in some more time here, because right now I think I'm running like a minute, so I'm not going to leave just a minute in there. But um, yeah, over a little over halfway through the season, just about at the Olympic break, and quite honestly, I'm very surprised with how the team's been playing. I wouldn't say very happy, content, but not exactly fully fulfilled with how they've been playing. Um, just with the team projected to be at the very bottom, towards the very bottom of the standings, like in like the bottom 10 of the NHL, and where we're at right now, which I believe is 16th or overall, which still is very good considering where we were, like I said, where we were supposed to be at the beginning of the season. But some games were really good, some games were really bad, and I know that there's this whole media coverage right now on the Rick Tocchet and Matvey Michkov situation, which is a whole thing in itself. Um, but at the beginning of the year, I was like, Taka's going to come in. He's going to do what we got to do to get us back on track, to get us to the playoffs. But it just seems like that there is some sort of disconnect, with all the stuff that's being reported in direct quotes. Like for instance, on Sunday at the carnival, this past Sunday at the carnival, Tocchet went on to, I think it was Snow. It was either Snow the goalie or PHLY. I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but he went into a podcast and was kind of talking a little bit more about it and reiterated the same points that he always has, that Matvey came into camp unprepared and all that. And now that he was late to some treatment or something like that, I'm not too sure exactly what that was, but there seems to be some disconnect because Keith Jones had also said that he needs to remind the coaches to keep playing the young players, which will kind of go to Matvey Michkov because the previous game against the Bruins, I believe it was, he only registered 10 minutes of ice time, which has kind of been the big issue this year. That's a significant decrease from how he was under John Tortorella, which, you like him or hate him, he held players accountable for mistakes. Matt Fay's only 20, I believe, and it's a second season, so he's going to make mistakes, but he has to learn from them. I think cutting his ice time might not be the best solution for that. I'm not a coach, so I'm not too sure on that. But just for how skilled he is, and I'd like to see him be able to perform and play to his capacity, and be the best player that he can be. So I really think that more ice time in that regard is needed. But again, I'm not on a coaching staff for a reason. But yeah, so that's that with But Trevor Zegras, phenomenal pickup by Danny Briere. Dan Vladar, another phenomenal pickup. I think he really kind of cooked this past off season with that. Um, yeah. Zegras has kind of cooled down a little bit. He hasn't been too much on the scoreboard the past couple of games, but he's still been noticeable enough. And Dan Vladar, I mean, it's just you kind of can see what happened when he got injured. That we didn't lose, or we didn't win too many games, unfortunately. Which is kind of the reason why we're in the struggling to not struggling, but why we're in the hunt for a playoff spot rather than having possession of one currently. Yeah, Dim Vladar, he's been a great pickup. I think he has more skills. I think yesterday some friends were saying that he stands at 5 or 6'9", um, with skates on. So I mean that's pretty tall for a goalie. Um, But yeah, he's done a phenomenal job. But in terms of our backup situation, it's a little bit of a mixed bag because you look at Sam Harrison, he's had great games, but he's also had really bad games. And it would just be nice to find a level of consistency for him just so he can play better in this final stretch of months or a couple and 2-ish months before the actual playoffs start. So that's really important because, Dan Vladar unfortunately can't play every game and, if something comes up like God, like heaven forbid that he sustains an injury during the Olympic break, it'll one of our backups then will need to be our starter for however long he's out. And having that consistency to get us wins will give us a better chance to make the playoffs, obviously. So Sam Harrison, he can be good. He can be good. I just need to see more of a consistent performance from him to have faith in him if something were to happen to Vladar, which I'm, really hoping that he can stay healthy for the rest of the season. And then we have Alexei Kolosov. A little bit more of an interesting story based on just his track record, how he came over to the NHL and then didn't want to play in for the Phantoms because at that time we were carrying Erson and Fedotov, who is now with the minor league team of the Columbus Blue Jackets. But so uh, Kolosov came into camp basically embracing the role of that he would probably have to start the season in Lehigh Valley with the Phantoms. But even with a couple of games that we've seen from him, it hasn't been the greatest. Like for instance, I think it was the Rangers game. He let 3 goals in on 3 shots in the first period and didn't last until the 10-minute mark. So he was only in for a little less than 10 minutes before Sam Harrison had to come in for relief. But I really think that our key is going to be, you know, consistent backup goaltending. That'll really help us down the stretch. But yeah, overall, and there's some other players too that are kind of struggling right now. Like Cam York's been a little iffy on defense, but I'm hoping that he can get better. I think at one point last night he was paired with Noah Juleson on the third pairing, which isn't it's not necessarily a bad thing, but he just needs to be able to play better. The fourth line is a little frustrating for me at this point because I've never been a fan of Nick Delorier, and kind of just watching him on the ice, I can't do it anymore. Um, he really he's got an assist against the Capitals, which is good. But aside from that, he really hasn't done much. I think he's scored only 1 goal, but again, he's an enforcer on the fourth line, so there isn't really much that he brings to the table besides being that big, intimidating guy that players don't really want to get mixed up with. He's taken a lot of dumb penalties though. He took too many men on the ice trying to fight someone against the Kings, and then against the Capitals, he took I think it was a slashing call that was like or slashing or tripping that was a really kind of like why are you doing this type call. But aside from that, everybody else I think has been playing pretty well. Games are noticeable. Nikita Grubenkin, especially, he's been very noticeable. Really like to watch him play. He's got the hustle. He's got the grit to his game. I'd definitely like to see him get more minutes in the future. Denver Barkey's also another one. I think that there's a whole thing that's circling around now that he's actually rooming with Trevor Zegras somewhere in Center City because previously Barkey was actually staying in hotels, but then he was kind of expecting, he was expecting to kind of maybe get sent back down to the AHL, but he's been around a lot longer, and from reports online, Barkey's going to be around for hopefully the rest of the season. Because Tyson Forster's out with injury, and the fourth line's kind of a little inconsistent, especially now with Rodrigo Abels most likely being done for the season. There's a chance that he can come back, but honestly, I'd kind of just say just uh, cut him for the year, and just to make sure that he can come back next year and heal properly. If we still need him on our major team here, but yeah, I've been really impressed with a lot of players so far. I think we are playing a lot better than expectations. It would really be nice to get into the playoffs just because we're at that stage right now where if the season were to end today, we're not in the playoffs, but we're not low enough in the league standings to get a good draft pick. Like we're in the middle of the mix in that regards right now. So it's either we get to the playoffs or we're going to kind of just get, maybe 10th, 14th round draft pick, which doesn't really make any game changing moves for us in the long run. But yeah, so that's kind of my little recap of the first half of the season before the Olympic break. I know the Olympic break should be a good time. We have a couple flyers going, which Dan Vladar, Rasmus Ristolainen, Travis Sanheim, and Rodrigo Abels, but again, he's injured. So it's really cool to see a couple of our players, have that opportunity to play for their country and represent them. It's really cool. But yeah, so we will be back after the Olympic break with our regularly scheduled programming. I don't believe that there will be any real hiccups in terms of attending games and being able to do videos on them. But yeah, that concludes the video for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was a lot different than the type of content that I usually put out. Again, it's just kind of, I wanted to have something uploaded so it doesn't look like I kind of just missed an upload or forgot about it or whatever. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode.